We've got the radiator removed, and we've got the intercooler sitting up against the car. We made these little L brackets. You'll see really nice. Brendan's modifying one right now to make it fit better. It's just some 3/16" steel. We're doing away with the way that it was mounted and trying to reduce the amount of space between the turbo and the intercooler to the bumper. And the mount that was on it before was pretty stout, but it had a lot of support structure. So since we're getting rid of a lot of that support structure, we put this 3/16 plate, which is a lot thicker, super robust. Now this isn't the only one we're going to have. We're going to mount one to where it was originally mounted as well. We're going to modify the mount that went here, and it went to this other mount that came off of this frame horn. We're going to take it and make the mount go directly to the frame horn. We're mounting the radiator in the back, and we moved the intercooler towards the rear of the vehicle about 4 inches. So right now what we're trying to do is get both of our intercooler pipes, charge pipes, lined up, and it's a task. There's a lot to do. This is something that you can measure 15 times and cut once. You'll still end up cutting like 3 or 4 times. So times like this are whenever you really have to exercise your patience in building. You want these things to fit up perfect. You don't want to weld this thing with like, an 1/8 inch off and then try to bring it in with the V-band. You want to have everything exactly where it's going to live before you weld it. So, everything's loose. This mount's loose. The one that obviously it's not on here yet. So the mount that Brendan just modified, it's going to be loose. The V-bands themselves are going to be, they'll be tighter than that whenever we go to weld, tack it all in place. But they'll just be, just literally just finger tight, just enough to hold everything in place so that we can get everything. I'll put quadrant tacks on all of the tubes before I weld the mount plates, and just to make sure that everything lines up exactly where it's supposed to go. So we got the factory hose ends on this radiator. We're not mounting this radiator in a conventional style. It's not going to be mounted with this dude vertical. We're going to be putting this thing underneath the back of the car at an angle. 1, for weight savings. 2, because we had to move the intercooler back about 4.5 inches. So the radiator's got to go somewheres. There's no room for it in the front. We're going to put it underneath the back now that there's no factory fuel tank, no factory crash bar. We've got that parachute mount on there. It gained us a substantial amount of room behind the bumper. So we're going to put this thing up underneath the car in the back. So we got to move that. Change that. Change that. 12 gauge. Yeah, I ordered that sheet of 12. Move that. Did not go to 90 though. I'm just cutting these off. We'll grind these down a little bit. I'm not going to take all that weld away because it's good thick material. I can just bleed it into that AN fitting. This drain is going to be on the top and the current location that this is going to be installed in the car. So we need to flip that to the back side. So whenever you drain your coolant, you're actually getting it out. And then we're going to rotate this, or we're not going to rotate it. We're going to move this dude. This radiator is going to sit at an angle So then we'll take this guy and move it vertical, put an extension tube on it, poke a hole through the bottom of the floor, and then make it to where you can fill the radiator from inside the trunk. So on what we were talking about with where's the radiator cap? We need a cap.
Dude, I don't think there was a cap on that. There was not a cap on that. Absolutely not.
Okay. No cap. That's also like a modern child slang term.
What?
No cap.
Oh, yeah.
It really is.
I don't know what that means.
I just want to get two different angles of this.
He doesn't, no cap. He doesn't even know what that means.
I don't even know what no cap means except for no cap. Back on the topic of where you're going to mount your radiator fill. It's going to be inside the car. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hole saw somewheres in this area, and we're going to weld probably 1.5 inch aluminum tube and put the fill inside of the cab of the car. So it'll be in the trunk somewheres because this is rear mount. This thing will set up kind of high. I just realized that we don't have a cap for this. So more than likely what we'll do is we'll just take the swirl pot that's on the radiator, his old radiator. We'll just cut that off, cap the one area, put the swirl pot somewheres up high, and then weld the tube down to it. What are you thinking?
I almost think that we should come this way
And into the cab?
and into it.
And then just run it. Yeah, because getting it up and over this is going to be really difficult. There's not enough room. There's probably only enough room to get one hose.
Yeah, and I'm more.
And I don't want to get
big. It's going to start pinching if there's any movement.
Yeah, and I don't want to get close to the axles, the control arms, any of those. And it's going to be extremely close to the upper control arm and really close to the axle. Okay.
That is no.
What about making a hole right here? Yes, this right here is, dude, I can't even touch the fuel cell and I've got that much finger in there.
Oh.
Because this is wider than the fuel cell by 5 inches. So it'd be 2.5 either side.
Yeah.
So as long as we poke our hole over here, we're going to be...
So wherever that ends up, really.
Yeah, really wherever that ends up will be fine. But if we put the hole right here,
okay,
and just turn this thing up, like so. See what I'm saying?
Yeah. I don't see why not.
Give it a shot. And we can make a tab right here. All right, so put this dude right here. This one could, yeah, so this one we could literally just weld the bung straight to that and go straight in through the. What I could do is weld that AN to a tube, because it would be nice to have a 90 inside the car, so the hose isn't going like that.
Yeah.
So if I welded a piece of aluminum tube to the radiator, it sticks through the body of the car, and then you weld the aluminum weld bung to the tube, then you can thread the AN right there.
So do you want it on the bottom of this? Do you want to have 2 aluminum tubes come off and up into the car? And then we use the ANs inside the car? On the line?
Yeah, it's a good idea. Yeah, because we can bend that tube. Radiator fit in the back of a car, or where it shouldn't belong. Like Bill Cosby. But anyways, what I'm hoping to do is I need to put two 90-degree bends on both ends of the radiator. One end of the radiator, I'm sorry. Okay, so we talked about deformation of a tube whenever we did the A-pillar bars on the G37. So this is actually a great representation of what happens to a tube. So if you look at it from this direction, looks round. You look at it from that direction, it looks round. But there's actually kind of a flat spot on this backside. One, this is aluminum. It deforms more than steel, but this is a exaggerated example of what happens to steel. So we had to cut and make a 90. Where's my AN fitting that I was just using? It's right here. Okay, so we needed to make a weld-on version of this cat. So I cut it in the middle of the bend to make it. That is no longer a circle. It's actually in the shape of a D. So it compresses this edge and it stretches the outside edge. Inside gets compression, outside gets extension. So the only way that you can combat that is by using a mandrel, and that's basically a plug that has a rod behind it shoving up inside of the bend while it's being bent. So the mandrel stays at a consistent location at the bend center as I may not be correct on bend center. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't have a mandrel, so I don't know the exact, but just from what I've seen online. So anyways, and what Rogue Fab has said, represent. So anyways, it's basically it's a plug that keeps the tube round as it's being bent. And I know that the deformation rate is like super low percentage wise. It's only like a couple of percent. This is probably like 20% or something. But in this case, what we're doing, this doesn't matter. In some cases, 20% is far too much. We're gonna have to hole saw it and find out. But
Something funky.
let's get funky. Everybody clap your hands. Everybody clap your hands. Okay. Sharpie this real quick. Not sure. Clap your hands. Everybody clap your hands. All right. And then just hole saw us. Be extremely careful. Do not poke through. You poke through into them cores. Radiator's donezo. So. Like, oh, goodness. Keep. Plug. Yeah, 180 from that.
So you want to go right here?
Underneath.
Underneath? Okay.
Yep, 180 from that.
I think that would work. Somewhere in that vicinity?
Yep, somewhere's in there. Beautiful, I love it. Should be pretty good. Yep. Ow! Right in my shin. I wonder if this will cover any of the other holes. Need some acetone.
Where's it at?
I don't have any. I need to get some. But Blue Demon sells ass wipes. That's ACE wipes. Acetone wipes. They're pretty funny. I ain't cursing. Just saying the name of the product, that's all.
Ass is in the Bible. I know that.
True. It's an animal.
You know what?
This is gonna that's gonna have to get prepped really good.
Oh.
We're gonna have to we'll have to hit that with the blue disc around the edge, and then we'll have to take the purple disc and hit it around the edge, and then we'll have to take the thing. And you know what might be a good idea too is torching it.
Okay.
We got to get both inside and outside diameter, but don't bevel it real heavily though, you know. So Aluminum is extremely finicky. It has to be extremely clean, like literally surgical, like squeaky clean. Like, we cleaned this radiator and I just wiped it and there's stuff on it still. Like, there is so much trash on and in aluminum, it's not even funny. What sucks is whenever you look at aluminum, like physically look at it, you're not even looking at aluminum. You're looking at an oxide layer on top of the aluminum. And so that's what the AC is for. You have to penetrate the oxide layer before you can get to the actual aluminum itself.
I'm gonna start putting cyanide in your food or something.
I got you on video saying that. I wouldn't do that.
It's whatever.
All right, so aluminum is it's a guessing game. It's an educated guessing game. You take some known settings, you know, which kind of you go sort of by like the amp per thousandth rule. So however thick your metal is, you set your welder, I don't know, give or take 10%, 1 amp per thousandth of inch of material thickness. So this is 063 aluminum. I set it at 65 amps, or actually I set it at 80 amps right off the rip and started welding on it, and obviously it was far too hot. So I had to dial it back, dialed it down to 50 amps, and I found the happy spot.
I offered as a Zen, you didn't take it.
9 inches by 3.
What's this, Ty?
This is a swirl pot. So swirl pot, in a cooling system, you need to have your fill point higher than the engine. So that's what a lot of people will make these things. I don't know why it's called a swirl pot. Maybe coolant swirls in it, who knows? But anyways, this is gonna be the highest point of fill for the cooling system. We're gonna mount it high up in the trunk because we rear mounted the radiator. So I'm taking this existing swirl pot, modifying it pretty heavily, cutting off where it originally went to the other radiator, cutting off this tab. I'm gonna relocate it so that it'll bolt in properly because it already has an AN16 that we can feed the engine with. This used to have a cap on it, but we're gonna put a hose on it and send it to the front of the car to the engine. And then we're gonna put a small overflow bottle in the corner of the trunk. So in the event, well, not in the event, it's going to, you know, liquid it expands as it gets warm. So it's gotta go somewheres. So rather than just dribbling out into the car, we're gonna put an overflow bottle just like factory would have had. And then whenever it cools, before the valve and the cap suctions back down and closes, it'll suck coolant back up this line, back into the swirl pot, and it'll be full all the time. So that's it. That's what we're doing. A little bit of everything, something, nothing, all of it, none of it. If you don't make the money, it doesn't come. Like, that's what it comes down to. Right now, it's there's a lot to do on this car before Friday, and 75% of this paycheck has already been spent. Like,
Don't you love that?
no. I don't love that. But we're going to get ahead. It's going to be fine.
Yes, we are.
We're going to get ahead. This is the life of small business.
looked like that thing was real easy to cut out, Ty.
Piece of cake, quite frankly, simplest thing that I've ever done in my life. You know, I mean, honestly, why would one have a laser whenever you got a body saw to cut 14 gauge aluminum? Happy the intern.
That is awesome, dude. Brendan.
This is Will.
What's up, bro?
Nice to meet you. Nice
to meet you.
So what are you doing? You going to school?
Yes, I'm a senior right now.
Yeah. Flush it out big time before we mount it in the car. We'll pressurize one side and we're gonna fit that, then pull it back down, and I'll weld the tabs, and then you can do that or have Adrian do it while I'm welding. Or okay, ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Are you?
Yep, born ready, boys. Okay. Plus we can test these and see if they're. Go ahead.
Don't you do
I was gonna freehand it. Go ahead.
No. You're gonna be off by 30 seconds. I'm gonna be mad at you. I'm gonna go a little bit lighter.
Okay.
So you just self-tap it to a different.
Yeah, we could.
Let's just do that.
Yeah, we could.
Why don't we just...
God, I just freaking hate it. It's just an existing hole. I just really like using the factory holes if we can.
Great work.
There you go. Thanks, buddy. All right, now make it identical or don't even do it.
Is it identical?
Oh, man, that's awesome. I guess what we could do is just drill a hole first and see. It's gonna be, I was gonna say we could put a riv nut in there, but my riv nut tool's too big. I don't have a pneumatic riv nut tool. Or we could put a nut, a riv nut. You know what a riv nut is?
Yeah. Isn't it just literally a riveted nut?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I like it all.
That's ties that I did not fix.
I made that.
I'm sorry, I was supposed to fix it.
I blame you, Brendan. Just saying, buddy. You could have done better. Bingo. Beautiful.
I knew it was going to be that one. I knew it.
What'd you just put in that hole, Ty? What's that?
This is called a riv nut. So I was actually just explaining to Adrian about it. So anytime that you're needing to put threads or a nut into a piece of material that is blind, which means that you can't get behind it to hold a tool or something, use a riv nut. So it flush mounts this nut to the surface, but it insets the nut to the back side. So basically you've got a nut from this surface up, and then you drill your hole to this crimp area, to that diameter. This is a slight bit over a ½ inch. And then you put it in this tool. They sell really fancy ones. This is the cheap Harbor Freight one, but this one works beautifully. And then you just crimp it, and it sandwiches the sheet metal between the two of these.